Good morning and welcome back, everyone, to yet another agent call review. This is something that everyone should have their mentor do for them. Whether it's a good call or a bad call, knowing what you're doing wrong is the first step to doing what is actually right. Remember, we are what we repeatedly do. Excellence isn't an act, it's a habit. I'm Ryan Valet, your FExpert or final expense expert, and I have actually made over 20 grand a month for 3+ years as an agent myself off of client booked appointments only. Now, my goal is to help as many agents as I can understand how to truly make a living selling final expense life insurance, whether you're sitting at your desk in a cubicle or dialing in your underwear at home. Please do me a favor, like, subscribe, and leave a comment below. Let's get into it, guys.
Hello.
Hi, this is Russell. I was getting back to you on a request you put in
Yeah.
for final expense options.
Yeah.
And was that for you, dear? For a loved
Yeah.
one? Okay.
For loved one. Yeah.
Oh, okay. And I had your email as email.
Yeah.
So tell me, you said the beneficiary was, so this would be a policy for you if you passed protect, so he doesn't have to come out of pocket. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And I got you in Wisconsin. So I'm happy to share that with you. Okay. How long have you been looking?
A while.
All right. And do you currently have anything in place or no?
No.
And so if you've been looking for a while, is there any specific reason why you haven't picked something?
Well, because they tell me one price on the phone and they go to my bank account with a different one.
Oh, no way. I'm sorry to hear that. It went all the way to your bank account and they took it?
No, they didn't take it because I stopped it on time, but I don't appreciate that kind of abuse.
That's terrible. I assure you, I'm not going to do that. But if you didn't share it with me, I wouldn't know that you had that experience. So thank you for sharing it with me. And, whatever it takes for you to eventually, if you find something you like, to trust that you're in a good place that does business properly, that's fine.
Well, the thing is, you guys come off as very honest.
Yeah.
And this person came out very, very honest and nice and,
sure.
and very cordial. But then at the end of that, and then when I called him up on it, he got mad at me.
Oh, my gosh.
And I just said, you got the wrong person, buddy.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. If this is important to you, I assure you that you will be able to find a company and people that you can trust.
Well,
I
they
hope
told me it was a good company.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's just chat this through real quick. Okay. I'm happy to share this with you. Like, so you met a nice person that sounded like me, right? That was trustworthy and outgoing, right? And wanted to help you, but then when it came down to it, they changed their tune and they tried to shove you into something more expensive and just say, deal with it, right?
The whole policy was changed on me. That's the thing that.
Gosh.
So I just said, you know what? You make all of these telemarketers sound like a bunch of schmucks.
Ah, that's such a shame. But here's one thing that one way to make sure, okay, is the documents. Like, did you digitally sign something?
No, that's the other thing too.
Okay, well that was really unprofessional because you can't enter a contract without a signature.
And every time I try to speak to make sure and double check, he would interrupt me, and I just said, I don't want any business with somebody who thinks they're so much smarter they know what I need.
Yeah. Let me just share with you, I happen to be trained as a lawyer. Doesn't mean anything to you. But you know this out of common sense. You know this out of common sense that if you agree to... Based on all of that hoopla, where would you have taken it? Would you have spent that much time trying to gain her confidence?
I can say in every call that I do, there's always a little something different that
sure.
Me not being in the call, it's hard to say which direction I would have went, or exactly what I would have said. But I think you're doing great so far. You're not in a situation where I'm like, whoa, you're moving too fast trying to get her to quote. And on the other hand, I don't feel like you're moving too slow. Obviously, we need to listen to more of the call to really determine if you're working too hard. But right now, no, I wouldn't. I wouldn't change anything. You want to make sure that she does have your trust, and I would say one of the things that I would mention is, hey, look, when it comes down to getting something in place, you have absolute confidence before you actually make that decision. We're gonna make sure that it's something that makes sense to you. And if you don't get approved for some reason for what we talk about, you will not pay a dime for it. You've got
Mm-hmm.
my absolute word because my license means everything to me. I always like to say,
Yep, I do
because
too.
this is how I feed my kids. This is how
Yep,
I feed
I
my wife
said
and
it
my kids.
yesterday to her, I think.
Beautiful, beautiful, and
Not worth a couple $100.
that's exactly right.
Mm-hmm.
And so far, uh,
Okay.
the lawyer, you being a trained lawyer, I mean, that gives her a little bit of something. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, she doesn't have to believe you necessarily, but
Yeah.
the bigger question is, or the bigger concern will be, you got a 40-minute call now, and then you got another 38-minute call.
Mm-hmm.
That's where, so the beginning, I think, really solid.
Okay.
Um, I don't see anything that I'd be like, whoa, you
Okay.
need to absolutely change this.
All right.
Now, let's get into the rest of the call and see
Okay.
where it kind of goes sideways as to
Right.
why it takes so long.
Okay. Something these days, it's got to be in writing, and both parties have to agree to a signature, right? And since COVID, companies and people have become more comfortable doing business over the phone and the internet.
Yeah.
Okay. And so, what if you ended up picking something you like with us? We would have you sign a contract, and that contract would not start until 30 days later, and you would actually have 60 days to cancel it, and you would know who to call.
First
Quick to
mistake.
cancel.
I
Too
would
quick.
never mention.
Yeah.
I
Opportunity
highly
to cancel.
recommend completely staying away from the opportunity to be able to cancel
Mm-hmm.
no matter what.
Okay.
With the except, there's very, very rare occasions where it's okay to say there's. What I always say is you always have 30 days to make any changes, never to
Okay.
cancel.
That's what
Okay.
my question is. To allude
Yes.
to the fact that you have time to make changes without saying you can
Yep.
cancel.
And in this case, I wouldn't even be bringing up that she's got 30 days or anything
Yeah.
of that nature. I wouldn't say that she's got 30 days to make the payment,
Mm-hmm.
or that it wouldn't start until 30 days.
Yeah.
Because technically, if she wants us to start now, then that's actually not
Yeah.
correct.
Right.
Then it starts now. And then on top of it, she actually only has 30 days then.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to try to stay away from statements
Yeah.
that could be wrong
Mm-hmm.
if the what is factual is
Yeah.
you got 30 days from the day it starts. That's
Mm-hmm.
absolutely factual.
Mm-hmm.
But in this case, there's really I see no need to mention that.
Yeah.
Because you're just giving her the opportunity to think about
Sure, sure.
making any changes.
And as opposed to being in control, I'm catering to her hesitancy and
Mm-hmm.
trying to
And that's which is good. I want to say that is actually a good thing, to some extent.
right.
I would say you're just going a little too far, right? So
Mm-hmm.
what I would recommend more in this case is actually asking. So, Norma, when it comes down to it, would you? Is it a thing where you've given up on all life insurance agents and you think
Mm-hmm.
they're all scam, or do you like me?
Mm-hmm.
Is it okay to continue talking? Right, like get her to commit
Mm-hmm.
micro commitments, get
Yes,
her to
yes.
commit to actually wanting to move forward. That she's okay with it, because it could be a thing that she's perfectly happy rattling like a duck's behind to you, for an hour nonstop,
Yeah.
and only to find out that she's never going to trust another life insurance agent again. And
Yeah. The
now you've
funny thing
wasted your
is,
time
and
and
I,
hers.
I need you to balance this for me because I spent a ton of time with her. I ended up texting her and we texted back and forth and I like totally earned her confidence. Like if I'm working for like a 2 week, relationship, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Just so that one day I'll have a proper, one call close, but then I'll have that coming around for all that work
Mm-hmm.
I did, and it'd be a day that I get a bonus, you
Mm-hmm.
know, bonus close. And
Which is
is it
nice.
worth the
So,
effort?
and that's the bigger question. So, the question is going to be,
how much is the premium? Now, it's not all about money. It's not, but that does have to play a factor, right? If she's willing to spend $10, it's never worth your time.
Yeah,
Unless she's like, I want to do it right now, Russell.
yeah. It ends up she's
Don't
got
give me any
$100
quotes.
budget.
Yeah, yeah. So if she's got $100 budget, look, that's perfectly fine. It's okay to work a little bit. However, if she's got, if the other question is she ever going to trust you? And if she's not, now you've got a problem, right?
Yep. And I do again know how it all goes, and I did earn her trust like nobody else, right? But I had to work hard to get to that.
The only thing I would say is the question is did you make the sale?
No.
So the other agents were able to do that within one call or maybe two calls, right? So if that's the case, this is another example of, I guess the question for you now would be, why is it now that she doesn't want to do anything? Why she didn't want to get anything in place?
And
do you remember her reason as to why she didn't want to move forward with an application?
It was taking her time to make sure she can trust somebody, and it was like later in the evening where she texted me and said, "Thank you for spending all that extra time with me to explain it." Right? And so I do have her trust, and I knew this
But
is
do
such a
you?
bummer.
If you don't have the application, she's not beating down your door today.
Yeah.
The real question is, so do you have a follow-up scheduled today for her, or like, really
I
today?
have it scheduled for Friday,
Okay.
and I don't hesitate to say that we can schedule a follow-up. I just need you to be there when I reach out, because 95% of the people I schedule with aren't, and I'm spending the time, please give it back when I do reach out. And I'm confident that she will, but then again, the number's even worse than 95,
Yeah.
So it's like,
It's pretty rough.
but it's also balanced with in my time commitment for the day, right? In my block of time, I hadn't had many calls, so I wanted to do the most I could with this. And she had a trust issue, and she's a talker, and it's like, that's where I ended up. Like,
Yeah.
I'm going to wrap my arms around her, get her into the script, and pitch her. That is what I'm going to do. And and that's what I enjoy doing in that structure, is to give them a true chance to say yes or no. But it's tough with a talker who's got an issue to get over.
And I would say you're perfectly fine to gain somebody's trust in the 40 minutes. If we had one call of 40 minutes,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
would say, yeah, that's fair, man. And you just couldn't quite get her over the edge. That's fair. But an hour and 15, like
Yeah,
almost 20 minutes, now
yeah.
we're talking too long,
Yeah,
right?
and so what it ends up being is that she's a 50K person, okay? And she did what you mentioned, or somebody did what you mentioned earlier. They gave her a small life and accidental, and she thought she had 50K.
Yes. And
And she got double indemnity on 25
mhm.
and thought she had 50K. And that's why it went up. And then, the guy was a jerk, but, and she backed out. So now she's got 50K in her mind. And I bring her back down to 20, with a concierge. Um,
So
and
let me ask you, when she
Mhm.
started talking about the 50, did you ask her? So if you can't get 50,000, because this is something you should always ask,
No,
Russell, if you can't get 50,000 for the price that you want it for, are you just not going to get any coverage?
yeah, I like
It's
that a
an
lot. That is such a time
extremely,
saver.
it, not just a time saver, but it allows you to know how serious somebody
Yeah.
actually is, right?
hmm
You're absolutely silly if you have no coverage, if you have no active coverage,
Yeah.
and on top of it, you only want 50,000 or you don't want to leave anything, that's absolutely silly, right? There's no point in earning trust for somebody who's not reasonable. Now, it sounds like she is reasonable if you guys are still talking and you get to the 20,000. And again, so we started this all because you had a couple of very long calls and you wanted to kind of review them to see how we could tighten things up.
Yes.
So notice the recommendations that I have, the all the things that I say and do there or that I've mentioned are ways to get to the point faster, right? Because that's the whole point. And again, if she's not reasonable, then there's no point in spending all this time with her. Now, the next point is to really hone in on, okay, well, so you're okay with getting, something less. That's great. So I can promise you, and this is how you build the trust. So I can promise you that no matter what we get, you will know exactly what you have. It will be exactly what you wanted. And when you make that payment, it will be the exact payment that we discussed. Now, the one thing I can't do, Norma, is I can't change your age as much as I'm sure you would like me to make you younger. I can't do that, right? And I'll compliment you, man, because you were earning their trust. You were saying a lot of the right things. The only problem is getting to it faster, and the way you get to it faster is just figuring out the right details. So again, if she's stuck on 50,000, okay, are you willing to get anything other than it? Okay, you are, great. So let's figure out exactly where we're at. If you've got $100 budget, I don't want you to spend anything over that, Norma. So the way we do that is we get the amount that'll fit $100. You and I can't make that up. And you just kind of move on from there. Oh, sorry, my other system was going off.
That's right.
So to really rein them in, some very easy questions there. Remember that although you had some very long substantive calls with these two, between these two, remember that once you get put in the friend zone, friends oftentimes don't buy from friends. And that's why they bought. That's why, like in this case, this lady bought from the first person probably that she talked to. Is he didn't come off as her friend. He probably was like, look, you need to do this, and built the case for her doing it. Now, I totally agree with you. You're going to have to work harder because someone screwed up that trust. And it's perfectly fine to work harder. You just, like we discussed, you want to make sure you're not working too hard. So, just a few helpful questions there to kind of pepper in to really shorten things up.
Those
always
are great.
Remember, always remember that keeping things short and succinct is the best way that they'll remember what you're actually telling them to. You don't want them to forget what you're saying. So,
Cool.
100%, man.